Hey guys, I just wanted to do my review of The Flash, Season 3, Episode 14, Attack on Central City, the conclusion to the Grodd two-parter. So, kind of like Supergirl last week, it's kind of a episode that focuses on Valentine's Day, long after Valentine's Day has actually passed. And, Barry's made, breakfast for himself and Iris, and they're about to have morning sex, and HR is decorating the Speed Lab to celebrate Friends Day, or at least his equivalent, which is his equivalent of Valentine's Day on Earth 19, and because Cisco wouldn't let him decorate the Cortex, and he's giving everybody cards, and maybe this is just me personally, but basically throughout the episode, there wasn't enough of Harry and HR playing off one another as much as I would have liked to, and I think Harry took the more active role of the two Harrison of the two iterations of Harrison Wells, and it just seems like basically his annoyance towards HR just came down to like outright hatred of him for just not being a scientist like the other versions of Harrison Wells, to the point where it's like he's constantly calling him a moron. He's brushing his teeth and spits out his toothpaste in his coffee, and he doesn't like his cards he sends them, and I don't know. I would feel like, Iris and Joe are like kind of members of Team Flash. He doesn't give them shit for not being scientifically minded, especially after getting to know them, and he knows of like other versions of himself where it's like in the multiverse where he turns out to be a cowboy and a mime. So I guess my expectations were to for him to like kind of be like vitriolic best buzz between with his HR, and which is like, because when they were trying to run through a database, do a facial recognition of a general someone who's being mind controlled by Grodd, Harry was the HR was not Harry. HR was the one who pointed out that due to his haircut, he realized that he was actually a member of the U.S. military, and you think that Harry would be humble enough to be like, okay, you're not scientifically minded, but at least you're not a complete idiot, and find some kind of common ground. But it just seemed like it almost like they reverted some of his character progression a bit, just to have Harry act like a mouthpiece to all the fans who hate HR because they just don't like the idea of an iteration of Harrison Wells who's basically a doofus. But anyway, Cisco. But anyway, Cisco's bemoaning about the fact that how he's always like single and how his love life sucks, and being single, especially on Valentine's Day. And then Gypsy shows up and starts attacking and knocks Cisco out, and then immobilizes Barry and disrupts his connection to the Speed Force in the same way she did with Wally back in the episode Dead or Alive. The point where Harry has to bring in his Star Labs gun to neutralize Gypsy, and they had to put Gypsy in the pipeline, and they find out from her that she was chasing a breacher from Earth 19 to Earth 2 when she got ambushed by Grodd, and they realized that because his telepathy doesn't work across the multiverse, that means that Grodd and his army are already on Earth 1, and and Barry's struggling because of the fact that he feels like every time he thinks he beats Grodd, he comes back stronger, he becomes more intelligent, more involved, and he even considers killing and taking a page out of Oliver's book just for the sake of not only to avert the headline about the guerrilla attack on Central City, but also prevent Iris from dying at the hands of Savitar. Even tells Iris that it's like, well, Green Arrow was a killer, Oliver, and he's still considered a hero. And both Iris and even HR and Harry are telling him that it is humanity that makes him, set an example, and his compassion that makes him like the hero that he is. And Harry is the one who tells him that it's the most idiotic thing to just try to take the easy way out and kill Grodd because and even when Barry points out that, well, Harry, you were able wanting to kill and cross the line to save Jesse, and he says that, once you start like compromising and crossing a line towards that dark path, it gets easier and it's harder to come back from. I guess another subplot is Wally and Jesse breaking the news to Harry, saying that Jesse wants to stay on Earth 1 to be with Wally, and he just says, like, oh, it's fine. But he decides to be kind of, like, petty and manipulative and saying that it's like, oh, he's dying, he doesn't know how much time he has left in order to convince Wally to tell Jesse, counting on Wally telling Jesse that, we shouldn't be together, you should spend as much time with your father as you can. And even Jesse's like, okay, this is bullshit, and even goes to confront Harry about it and says, you know what, like, this is ridiculous. I'm staying at Earth 1 whether you like it or not. And in an attempt to anticipate Grodd's attack, they try to use Cisco's vibes powers to anticipate, like, what, I guess, like, Harry's able to use, like, equipment to modify his powers to anticipate, like, when Grodd's going to attack in the future, and they find an intersection where he's supposed to attack. And, Joe gathers up a SWAT team there, and Jesse, Wally, and Barry all gather up there waiting to anticipate the attack. And then they realize it's a diversion when Grodd starts to mind control Joe. And just to be honest, like, it was really campy when Tom Cavanaugh and Carlos Valdez were acting like they were being mind controlled by telepathic gorillas, but then it seems like Jesse L. Martin was the only one, and this is a testament to how he's one of the strongest actors on the show, to where he was able to play his character being mind controlled and not sound kind of campy, and it's probably the first actor to be able to do that since Clancy Brown. Even to the point where Grodd is about to force Joe to shoot himself in the head, but Barry's able at the last minute to use his super speed to save Joe's life, even though the bullet kind of scrapes his head and he has to get stitches from Caitlin. And so Harry suggests they try another method where they use I guess something that's involved, like, recovering one's memories to basically just to find out, like, who the next person he's trying to mind control, Grodd is trying to mind control is. And they use the device to, Joe makes the drawing, and of course that goes back to what I said, HR identifying him as a military man, and so they put it into a facial recognition database of military personnel after they can't find facial recognition of databases anywhere else. And it turns out he's a general who has access to nuclear weapons, to a military base right outside of Central City, and already put in the launch codes to basically destroy Central City. And Barry, at the last second, has to run out and stop the missiles from launching by putting in almost every combination. And so that pisses off Grodd, and so he decides to lead his army to invade Central City. And Gypsy, who was, like, kept captive, and Cisco tried to convince her to stick around. She was like, okay, I've seen what's in Grodd's mind. He wants to destroy everything. This is not my fight. And so she presumably leaves to go back to Earth 2 to capture and or capture the fugitive, and then apparently currently back to Earth 19, where she confronts the accelerated man, the Flash of that Earth, saying that the fugitive has been taken care of. And then once accelerated man takes off, Cisco shows up on Earth 19 trying to convince Gypsy to join the fight, supposedly saying that he can vibe her emotions, and that she actually wants to make a difference. And so just when the Grodd and his army are about to cross a bridge or just to get into the heart of downtown Central City, Barry, Jesse, and Wally try to confront him, and and try to stop the attack, and like speeding around trying to beat up all the gorillas, but they're overpowered. And it turns out that Barry has a backup plan. After Grodd criticizes him for wanting to show mercy and refusing to kill, that he not only sent Cisco to not only retrieve Gypsy, but to also go back to Earth 2 and retrieve Solovar to join the fight, and basically to have him fight Grodd in order to once again exercise his dominance over the army. And it gets to the point where it's like they're like throwing each other around. They're jumping on top of a building over skyscrapers, and eventually Solovar overpowers Grodd, throwing him off the roof of the nearby skyscraper, the drop from there doesn't kill him, but it doesn't like incapacitate him and knock him unconscious. And Solovar is about to kill Grodd for his betrayal, but Barry convinces him that, to show him mercy the same way that Barry showed him mercy, and that, just leave him on Earth 1 where they'll take care of him and just take the rest of his army back to Earth 2. And the other gorillas bow down to him, and Gypsy, Cisco, and the rest, and the three speedsters are able to get the army back to Earth 2. And Barry calls Lyle in order to take Grodd into custody. And Caitlin, finally concedes that, any good that was in Grodd is gone at this point after everything he's done, and that he deserves to be locked up with King Shark, with Cisco even saying, "Oh, I paid to see that fight." So it makes me, it feels like it's kind of like a bit of a foreshadowing of what's to come next season. Maybe like a fight between King Shark and Grodd, or maybe an alliance, or maybe they'll become like, or maybe at least like the fact that Grodd is back on Earth 1 at least gives me hope that maybe he can be like the big bad for season 4, because I'm tired of evil speedsters. Like, he's proven, and Grodd has been on the show enough times to show that he's more than a match for Barry even without super speed. And I'm tired of the people saying that only people with super speed are the ones that can like stand toe to toe with Barry, because it's like, yeah, Batman who can fight metahumans and aliens and gods, and Lex Luthor can fight Superman. He doesn't have any superpowers, and he's considered his arch enemy. So I don't know why people can't suspend disbelief that someone who doesn't have super speed can be able to stand toe to toe with the Flash. And so after that fact, basically Harry gives Wally a stern warning to treat her daughter well before he goes back to Earth 2. And Barry and basically they have this nice moment where Gypsy's about to go back to Earth 19, and Cisco's trying to flirt with her, saying it's like, admit it, you didn't just come back just to fight the good fight. You have a thing for me. And then Gypsy plants one on him, saying like, okay, even if I did have a thing for you, you couldn't handle me. And she takes off. And Cisco just comically says, I'm gonna marry that girl. And the episode ends with Barry going back to his apartment, with flowers and lighting candles in the apartment, and he gets down on his knees and proposes to Iris. We don't hear the answer before it cuts to the logo, but presumably she probably says yes. And the next scene is when Wally and Jesse are watching Casablanca, and she goes, and Wally decides to go out, and Jesse asks Wally to go out and get some burgers for the two of them. And while he's running around Central City to go and pick up the burgers from Big Belly Burger, he ends up seeing an image of Savitar escaping from a Speed Force. And based on the previews for next week, it seems like it kind of just proved my point that all Barry did back in this mid-season finale was to send the Philosopher's Stone into the future, presumably a few months before Iris actually died. And now it seems like instead of using Julian as a host, now he's using Wally as a means to like get out of the Speed Force and become more of an active threat to Barry and Team Flash again. So I mean, again, I mean, to be honest, it's like, like Saboteur was a crap villain. Like, he's very boring and generic, and it proves like an ongoing problem with the show, in which it seems like with every season, like every time they go with a speedster for a big bad, they become less nuanced and more generic, and and Saboteur just basically looks like a knockoff Transformer from the Michael Bay films. But I'm still looking to see how things plays out, just for the character drama between the team, if nothing else. Um, but honestly, I like the part two of the Gra two parter than part one, just because it was less riddled with plot holes. And I mean, granted, I would have liked to have seen a more full on Gorillas versus Speedster battle, but given their budget, I mean, you can only expect so much, and like it's and more than made up for it with the character drama, and it leaves the door open to with both with Gorilla Grodd, um, King Shark, Black Siren, and Deathstroke all locked up by Argus. Then maybe they can, maybe next season the writers can do their own version of Secret Society of Villains. I mean, Deathstroke is going to be kind of a stretch considering Manu Bennett's on his own show, and he's basically written off Arrow since post season 2, so I think he's pretty much burned that bridge. But at least getting like the idea of getting King Shark, Gorilla Grodd, and Black Siren on the show as part of some supervillain allegiance would be a really cool idea, and the writers would have to be crazy not to take advantage of that. But anyway, what do you guys think of the episode? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.